Culture is not a commodity. That's how late French President Jacques Chirac saw the arts. He was a champion of indigenous culture, a strong supporter of France's rich heritage, and the initiator of Paris's Quai Branly Museum, which bears his name. Chirac brought Islamic arts into the Louvre and signed off on the prestigious gallery's expansion to Lens in the north of France and its newest outpost in Abu Dhabi. Luc Shrego and Yuka Royer take a look back at his cultural legacy.
It was the moment when his long-time pet project came to life. In June 2006, then President Jacques Chirac inaugurated the Musée du Quai Branly, a museum celebrating non-Western cultures. Designed by French architect Jean Nouvel, it was built to the tune of €250 million.
It is an incomparable aesthetic experience and at the same time an indispensable lesson on humanity at this moment in time, because there is no more of a hierarchy between arts and culture than there is between different nations.
With more than 1 million visitors every year, the museum dedicated to indigenous art and cultures of Africa, Asia, Oceania and the Americas has become a major Parisian landmark. Chirac also pushed for decentralizing culture, bringing museums and events outside the French capital. In 2004, he chose the northern industrial city of Lens to host the Louvre's first regional branch.
He was very intelligent. I liked him a lot as a president.
He was a man very close to the public. And I remember him especially as a big promoter of cultural diversity.
Chirac's other cultural footprints include the National Museum of Immigration History. He started the project in earnest soon after a shock 2002 presidential election, when the far-right National Front leader Jean-Marie Le Pen reached the second round. In the years following the 2003 US invasion of Iraq, which Chirac fiercely opposed, the president was keen to showcase France's soft power diplomacy, trying to bridge the gap between East and West through the arts. Chirac opened a department of Islamic art at the Louvre, which was later enlarged into a separate wing. He was also instrumental in the creation of the Louvre Abu Dhabi, the museum's first foreign franchise.
President Chirac, apart from the financing of the project, was very proud of this museum because it was completely in line with his philosophy. For our country, international affairs and cultural affairs should be aligned.
A connoisseur of Japanese and Chinese arts and literature, Chirac was also known for his love of sumo wrestling. Between 2000 and 2007, an official award dubbed the Chirac Trophy was given to a tournament champion every year.
Well, let's take a look back now at how Paris's landmark museum, the Quai Branly, put together its vast collection of indigenous arts with artefacts from Africa, Asia, Oceania and the Americas. President Jacques Chirac inaugurated the Quai Branly Museum in 2006 as an institution celebrating non-European cultures. Now, the story behind the acquisition of an additional 75,000 pieces to that collection is on display at the moment. Julien Sauvager and Maud Julien take us behind the scenes at that exhibition.
Originally made up of pieces inherited from the Musée de l'Homme and the National Museum of African and Oceanic Arts, the Quai Branly collection has grown by some 77,000 pieces in the last 20 years. Objects acquired all over the world by ethnographers, merchants and collectors can now be found at the museum on the bank of the River Seine. Its current exhibition retraces the history of the collections.
It's a question of identity and of the recognition of non-Western art. Then we can see behind the scenes as to how one acquires art in a national museum.
500 key pieces mark the significant diversity of its collections. African masks and sculptures, costumes and jewellery from Asia, and this rare Mexican mosaic from the 16th century, made entirely of feathers.
During the Aztec Empire in the 14th, 15th and the beginning of the 16th century, the art of featherwork was highly valued. Prestigious objects were created, clothing, jewellery, ceremonial objects, because feathers had high sacred value.
Taking visitors behind the scenes of art acquisition, the exhibition runs until January 26. Some will no doubt come to see this Japanese mask from the 18th century, echoing the face of the renowned founder of the Quai Branly Museum.
And as a tribute to late President Jacques Chirac, entrance to the Quai Branly Museum will be free for 10 days, where visitors can check out that exhibition as well as the permanent collection. Well, next, with millions of children taking part in climate change protests every week, a new documentary by French journalist and filmmaker Gilles Demestre seems very timely. Demain est à nous, or Tomorrow is Ours, tells the story of children in India, Peru, Bolivia and Guinea who are leading campaigns against poverty and injustice. Two of those children were in Paris for a screening of the film. Naomi Lloyd tells us more.
Aissatou and Jose, the stars of a new documentary, greeted almost like heads of state by 400 college students at UNESCO headquarters in Paris. 12-year-old Aissatou from Guinea has led a campaign against forced marriage in her home country. And Jose from Peru was 8 years old when he opened a bank.
I created a bank for children. Every child has the right to open an account and have a credit card. To open this account, you need to bring 6 kilos of rubbish and 50 cents.
The children earn money in their accounts by collecting more rubbish. Jose's parents are proud, but keep a watchful eye.
I've always asked him, and he says yes, he's happy.
Two young people defending their ideas, no matter what.
Have you had many opponents?
It's not easy with adults. They treat us as though we're rude or badly behaved. They say we're just little girls, and we have nothing to say.
When you're a child, people don't pay attention to you. When people told me you're only a child, I thought it was an insult.
Undeterred, their actions have paid off. Aissatou has helped bring down the number of forced marriages, persuading police to stop and check marriage processions like this one. The bride is 14 years old.
Police checks showed she was going to be married to her cousin in his 30s.
Jose has now opened 4,000 bank accounts and cleared thousands of kilos of rubbish. Their message that every young person can make a difference.
It doesn't matter where you come from. It's your energy to make a change that counts.
You, the young, we, the young, today we can do something and we can change the world. Thank you.
Two extraordinary youngsters inspiring other young people. Tomorrow is Ours is a story of courage, conviction, and never giving up.
Well, he's been described as the Andy Warhol of Marrakesh, thanks to his vibrant blend of pop art and North African culture. The work of British-Moroccan artist Hassan Hajjaj is currently on show in Paris in his first retrospective. Hajjaj recently shot hip-hop star Cardi B for the cover of New York Magazine, and Nadia Massi caught up with him here in the French capital.
He is a pioneer of Arab pop art. Hassan Hajjaj, born in Morocco but grew up in London, says he's trying to demystify North Africa and break down cliches about his home country.
You know, I've been showing for about nearly 30 years, and around that time there weren't that many so-called Arab African artists around, especially in, you know, there was a few, but not like now. So there was a hunger, there was a whole generation needed somebody to present. When I say Morocco, they were like, oh yeah, the Sahara, the dates, tagines, very caricature.
Moroccan women are everywhere in his work. They wear traditional clothing stamped with luxury logos, and the veil becomes a fashion accessory.
I'm Muslim, I'm growing up in a Muslim country, so I've happened to have taken a picture of a woman that has this culture and this religion, but I didn't take it because of Islam in a sense. I was just taking pictures of people that I grew up with, that influenced me, and playing with tradition clothing.
Brands, local and international, fill his photographs, and the images are ringed with cans. So the comparisons with Andy Warhol come easy. But does he like the label or not?
One way you can look at this, is it because I'm from another, what so-called third world country, trying to show my work in the West, I have to be a second to somebody else? Or is it a compliment?
This is Hajjaj's first retrospective in France. Dip into his universe and you'll find a playful world full of colour, contradiction, music and humour.
Well, that's all for this show, but we'll leave you with images from the archive. These are the highlights of the Quai Branly exhibition, Jacques Chirac, or the Dialogue of Cultures. That collection showcased the artwork that illustrated how the path of one man's life and the history of non-European civilizations were intertwined. And many of those pieces are still on display in the museum's permanent collection. Do remember you can get more arts and culture on our website, and you can keep up with Encore on our social networks too. Stay with us here on France 24. There's more news coming up after this.